It's a pleasure to be here with you all. And you've mostly heard talks about what people are doing and what's happening. And unfortunately, what I'm going to be talking about today about what is not happening. And what is not happening is any kind of drug development effort aimed at turning marijuana into a prescription medicine. And I'm going to try to explain why it's not happening, what we're doing about it. But the theme here is that we identify ourselves, many of us, as counterculture, hippies, rebels, and that what the medical movement, marijuana movement is about, what our movement with MAPS is about, is trying to change this mindset that we're really not part of the mainstream, and that we need to bring up from the underground to the mainstream what we know about the value of marijuana, the value of psychedelics, and that one of the main weapons against us is our own mindset that we don't really belong, that we don't have the right to be part of the system. We had to find who's the perfect person to try to get a license from the DEA to grow marijuana. Now, there's a lot of you who have tremendous expertise in growing marijuana, but you probably would not be the perfect candidate to get a license from the DEA. So what we wanted is somebody who is a senior tenured professor. Right now, that NIDA has a contract with Professor El Soli at the University of Mississippi, and so he's at an academic institution. So we figured somebody at an academic institution, somebody who's senior tenured professor so he can't be bullied, somebody who has never smoked pot, somebody who's got an expertise in medicinal plants, and it took about a year to find this person. He was even better than I imagined, Professor Lyle Craker at UMass Amherst. And he's just committed to medicinal use of plants, and he thinks people should have the tools that they need, the medicines that they need for easing their suffering. So we found Lyle Craker. We've developed a tremendous relationship with him. He's really gotten politicized over the years. And we filed in June of 2001 to get this license. So DEA, again, with this policy of delay, does all this stuff. We call them up 7 months later and like, what's going on? There's like, oh, you guys submitted an application? We can't find it. Later, they returned. We got an envelope that was from DEA headquarters without anybody's name on who sent it to us, and it was his original application, date stamped the day that we sent it, so that we know that they received it, but they didn't acknowledge it. When we sent them, when they said, oh, we didn't get it, then we sent them a photocopy of the original one that Lyle Craker had saved, and then they waited a month. They say, hey, we can't accept it because it's not his original signature. So it goes on and on and on, and we expect them to do that. So we sued them in 2004 for unreasonable delay, again with support from John, and the court said, well, we're not. It was 3.5 years now. The court said, we're not sure that this is unreasonable delay, but DEA, maybe you should explain to us why it's taking so long. So DEA says, well, all right, we'll just reject it. So DEA rejects it, and actually that was a really good step. Once DEA said no, that gave us the permission then to sue them about why they said no in the DEA administrative law judge context, which began in 2005, and after tremendous pro bono legal support with the ACLU was really great, Julie Carpenter from a big DC law firm. We had tremendous lawyers, tremendous case. Al told you just a little bit about it, how the DEA would say anything, but we won the case. Now, what that means is that the administrative law judge makes a recommendation to the head of the DEA that this license be given to Professor Craker. And then DEA has to make a final ruling on whether this recommendation is accepted. Now, there's no timetable for DEA to make this final ruling. Again, when we deal with pharmaceutical drug development, everything is controlled on timetables. But when it's scheduled drugs, we're out of this sort of pharmaceutical drug development. Then we're into this never land with no timetables. So DEA has been received this recommendation, or the recommendation was issued February 12th, but then DEA lawyers and our lawyers get a chance to argue about the recommendation. So the file went up to DEA May 15th, which is not that long ago. So one of the things that we wanted to do from Congress is we said, can you get DEA to tell us what's the normal time frame for responding to these recommendations? So we just got this information on March 8th. I did a big spreadsheet, and there was 101 cases from January 1, 2001 to July 26, 2001. And the fastest time the DEA ever responded was 20 days, which is amazing. The slowest time was 2 years, 5 months, and 4 days. So that when we start thinking about what's unreasonable, this is their normal. It can range from 20 days to 2 years, 5 months, and the average time was 7 months, 29 days. So the idea that we can prevail in a suit on unreasonable delay is really, it's not there. Again, lawsuits can be public education tools, but we can't expect that we will get any kind of relief out of that sort of lawsuit. Now, there are 11 cases that are still pending from DEA rulings, and of the ones that are still pending, the longest time has been there 1 year, 10 months. The shortest time is 8 months, 11 days. The average time, 1 year, 1 month, 10 days. And Lyle Craker's time is now 10 months and 19 days, or 20 days, because I did that yesterday. So Lyle is not near the longest, and really the main thing is we just can't expect any relief this way. But we can put pressure. And so we've got 45 members of Congress that have written to the DEA saying, give the license to Professor Craker. They said, Administrative Law Judge Bittner said it's in the public interest. We agree, give the license. And it's great to talk about our successes, but I feel here we also should talk a little bit about our failures, in that we have 2 senators. We've switched to the Senate. We have Senators Kennedy and Kerry, who've written letters to DEA saying, give the license. They were motivated because Lyle Craker is in Massachusetts. But we've been unable in the last 5 months to get more senators to sign on to this letter. And it's been particularly frustrating. And I think one of the reasons is the Republicans are kind of unified and just say, forget it, we're not going to go after the Bush administration this way. And what the Democratic leadership has said is that it's a delicate election. This is something that we support, but it's not a priority. And in this context, we don't want to elevate it to a priority. So I would like to encourage those of you who are willing to do it to contact your senators and ask them to sign on to these letters. I don't expect that there will be much progress, but it's important for them to hear. And what we're really hoping for is progress in November, because we anticipate that if there is a Democratic administration, that they will open the door to research, that this sort of opposition, this science suppressed by politics, is sort of a hallmark of the Bush administration. And while the Democrats are not perfect, and Clinton was not great when he was president on medical marijuana issues, there is this hope that we can really make some progress if there's a Democratic administration. If so, then once we have $5 or $10 million and 5 or 10 years, we'll be able, I believe, to develop marijuana either smoked or vaporized into a prescription medicine. So it's a long-term plan, and it's something that it really makes me feel good about doing because we're part of this larger community. Again, this idea that our failures are motivating to state-level efforts, and eventually the state-level efforts create enough of a climate so that the federal efforts can go forward. And we will one day, I believe, have medical marijuana as a prescription medicine. So thank you very much.